Hi there. Welcome back to Supercharged Fridays. How are you doing? We are going to be what is it? 149 weeks of live streaming right here on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If this is your first time, welcome. My name is Sonal Bahl. I'm a career strategist and founder of Supercharge. And what I do is I help people who are going through career transitions one-on-one through coaching or through digital courses or through content just like this live every Friday. I have a podcast called How I Got Hired, where we have amazing stories with people from around the world, including my guest today. He's been on the podcast as well as the YouTube channel with lots of free tips for anyone who's going through a career transition. Now, speaking of my guest today, one little plug before we get into it. In case you didn't see my post a couple of days ago, I'm going to be doing a free live training on my favorite tips, tricks, strategies on interviewing. If job interviewing is something that you can reach the interview but not always secure the offer, then I know this masterclass is going to help you. It's going to be on 7th of December. Check it out, superchargeyourself.com/interview training. Now, when it comes to LinkedIn, a very meta thing we're talking about LinkedIn on LinkedIn. Something weird happened last week, and LinkedIn was down for a couple of hours. And my friend Kevin, who's actually been on this live stream with me, this is his fourth appearance. So if you don't know who Kevin is, I'm going to bring him on board. I'm going to quickly introduce because a lot of you already know him. He said, I highly recommend Sonal, you take a backup of your data. And then we started chatting about like what happens with this data. Like when you take a backup, why does this matter? Let's get into all of that good stuff and geek out with the one and only Kevin D. Turner. Good morning, Kevin, and welcome back.
Good morning, Sonal. It is morning, definitely. And it's the day after Thanksgiving
Yes,
in the
yes,
US, which we spend a
yes.
day thanking everybody that we're grateful to be. And I'm very grateful to know you and the experience I've had with you, and being on your show is incredible. So
Awesome.
excited
I
to
feel
be
the
here.
same way. I feel the same way. Happy Thanksgiving to anyone who's watching in the United States. Before we get started, a quick trivia question. Kevin, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you identify with the phrase stuffed like a turkey?
I still am. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I
Okay,
looked at all
okay.
that stuff this morning for breakfast. I said no. Then I had a little piece.
Oh yeah, I can totally imagine. So we're not gonna get into like who is Kevin, what is he about, because we've had Kevin on so many times. But in case you don't know, Kevin's been training people on all things LinkedIn since 2005, if I remember, after a
Mhm.
glorious career in various English, Japanese, amazing companies, and now doing full time, right, helping people with
Yeah.
resumes, LinkedIn since 2011 with him and his lovely wife.
Mhm.
Dana. So definitely follow. If you're watching on YouTube, go on LinkedIn and make sure you follow because Kevin is tagged in the post. So, Kevin, now let's talk about this. Let's talk about LinkedIn and what happened last week. We've heard of a few platforms going, something happened, Twitter, Instagram. It's become like it's not an unknown thing, but I think it's the first time that LinkedIn was like properly down for a couple of hours. Even LinkedIn help didn't wake up to it until much later. Do you have any inside information like what happened?
Well, actually, LinkedIn's come down a couple of times in the last few years, but
Oh, okay. Okay.
they're doing so much right now in the backside of LinkedIn to make some adjustments, really, to kind of bring in some new features that I think are going to make a huge difference. And to do that, they've got to get the platform coding right. And somebody took it to the point where basically it knocked everything out. It knocked all of our connectivity out. So you could still use LinkedIn, it was fine, but I wasn't connected with you. I had no connections. I had no network. I had no ability to really kind of, have that networking piece there. It was there. We just couldn't see the connection. And so I guess it took them, my understanding, about 3 hours to make all of that reconnect.
Yes.
And so that's why we got back on online.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And gosh only knows what was actually going on, the complete mayhem, I can imagine. And speaking of mayhem, again, to our viewers, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being live with us today. You are amazing. And a special shout out to those in the US, gobbled until we wobbled. Well, it's kind of similar, right? Diwali, like a lot of our festivals, Hanukkah, it's an excuse to eat the things you normally don't eat. So, Kevin, then the next step, right? We knew, okay, something happened, and the immediate thing, the knee-jerk reaction, we said, let us take a backup of our data. You said it. Now, someone who's listening today, they're like, okay, that sounds good. How do I do that? Can you tell us in a very simple way how to do that? Because I don't
Oh,
want to get into
absolutely.
like
And it,
screen
and it
share
really
and
is. It really is simple. And I actually put a note in my calendar. I do this every month
uh,
around the 6th. It says, hey, download your data.
yeah,
Right. And so I download it, and it's very, very simple. When you're on LinkedIn, you'll see up in the top kind of, I guess that would be right hand corner, you'll see a little picture of you, and underneath it says me, and it's got a little arrow pointing down, right? Click on that. That's going to open up a box below with
yeah,
some options.
yeah,
Go to privacy and settings. Actually, now it's settings and privacy. I
yeah.
guess there's not a lot of privacy.
No,
So it's settings and privacy. You click on that,
yeah,
and you're going to scroll down on the left side until you see my data or data something, and then click on that. And I think it's probably the fourth or fifth option is download my data. And it gives you two choices. You could select exactly what you wanted to have downloaded, or you can say download the whole thing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
suggest download the whole thing.
Every month?
I do every month.
Wow.
And I do that just in case. What if LinkedIn went away?
Yeah,
I want my latest, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
the one that was a month ago or 5 months ago. I want the latest.
You
It
want the
doesn't take
latest.
up much room. I sometimes throw away the old files or I store them, but it doesn't take up a lot of room. They come in like a zip format. If you don't open them, they can stay in that zip format, and
Yeah.
that's kind of nice.
Okay.
It does take 2 downloads.
Yeah.
When you first do it, you get your basic stuff,
Yeah.
right? And then when you wait, I think it's within 24 hours, LinkedIn will send you an email and say your second download is available. And that's the one that has more of the information you probably really want. And that's things like the shares that you've made, posts that you've made, it has
All
the
the
URL
content.
that connects to it. It has the content of it,
Right.
those
Right.
kind of things. And it also goes into some other files that we could talk about that are really kind of cool. So you
Okay.
don't just download to back up. That's a good reason. But then there's also things you can do with that data. And I think that's
Okay. We're
that's
going
the
to talk
cool
about
part.
that. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
So, have you written somewhere? I think you've been a post on it or an article on how to do the backup because you were explaining it right now for those who are maybe driving or, walking their dog outside. Is there a way to see that later?
Yeah, if they go to my profile, look at my activity, it's going to be within the last couple of days when I
Perfect.
posted on
Perfect.
that how to do it. It's there, and
So
I
go to
even have a
Kevin's
little.
profile and go to posts. It's going to be one of the recent posts on how to download a
Yeah,
backup of your data. Perfect.
and there's even
And
a GIF that walks you through the process. If you're
amazing,
very visually
amazing,
wired like I am, it definitely helps.
amazing, amazing. I
Less
want to
reading.
also add, because I'm speaking of, and Jeff says, don't forget you can do that on desktop only. Is that true? Oh,
Yes, it is.
oh, okay. 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 I also wanted to say, in the spirit of, Thanksgiving and everything, I also want to say we're very thankful for people like Kevin who share their knowledge freely. Some people who are watching today might be, experts in LinkedIn and specialists in LinkedIn. So you're going to be learning stuff. Maybe you already know it, maybe you're learning it for the first time. But if you work in corporations and if you want more insider information, because Kevin has some of that, feel free to hire Kevin as well. And if you want to take some of this learning and apply it, make sure you credit it. I'm just putting it out there because not everybody does that. And there's kind of a, how do you say, gentleman's agreement. I'm just putting it out there. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but it's really important that we respect the source. All right,
I
I'm done with
appreciate
my,
that. Thank you.
thank you for coming to my TED talk. Okay, so Varsha says, hey Varsha, I've tasted the bitter fruit. I lost all of it without a backup and I had to do a redo. Such a
Mm,
mess. Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
you don't want to start new on
No, no, no.
LinkedIn.
Okay, we're having tech issues. It seems our live stream has just started from the beginning. Okay, this is so stupid. I don't know why
That
LinkedIn does that.
that has been
Oh my
happening a little bit
God.
lately, where it kind of reloops, and if
Yeah,
somebody hits refresh, it should
yeah.
take them back to where they were.
Okay,
So
refresh.
yeah, that's been happening lately.
Yeah.
part of some of the changes that are coming in native video, which
Yeah.
we've been kind of seeing little bits and pieces of as they're building that out. So native
Okay.
video is
Okay.
coming, and that's probably why lives are having some issue as they're integrating.
Yeah, if you're having tech issues, please make sure you refresh and start. I'm sorry this is happening, but hopefully, because at least I'm not on Wi-Fi, so we don't have that. At least it's not that problem because we don't have any live stream issues with YouTube and Facebook ever,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is a bit more advanced. So, Kevin, let's talk about. Hopefully, everything is working because we love our audience here. So, what are the main reasons we want to take a backup of our data? You'd written this on a recent post, about 10 of them at least, right? So walk us through that.
Yeah. And these are, I guess, beyond reasons to do it, but these are things you can do with the data, right? And so the number one thing I like to look at every single time is there's a file that's called inferences about you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go into that file, it's going to tell you a little bit about who LinkedIn thinks you are. And they use it for their marketing purposes, but it's really kind of interesting because it also affects things like how you get served up in a search process, or what jobs they may forward to you, or if a recruiter's looking for somebody like you, whether you'd come up higher in the search results or not. So the inferences file has an impact on you within LinkedIn. So first of all, it's kind of cool to get the perspective, and then it's kind of neat to see, what do they think of me?
Hmm.
And then if it's wrong,
Hmm.
there's a couple things you can do. If it's more
Ah.
towards demographics, those kind of things, you can reset those in privacy and settings. If it is a little odd in the sense of sometimes it'll say, "Are you a job seeker?" Right? If you're not a job seeker, then LinkedIn thinks you are. So you might want to go in and check, do I have job search results running, right? So they're sending me messages. So they think, so if you don't want to be labeled as that, that's one way to get out of that, right? It also will have something about stability of work.
Hmm.
So they're
Hmm.
judging
Hmm.
the member of whether they've had a stable work history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Often that's related to a couple of things. If you don't have months on your experience, they sometimes assume the differences could be up to a year, right? In difference. So they look at that as potentially a gap. It's kind of gray area, right? So they kind of downgrade you a little bit
Oh, okay, okay.
as
So,
in being
and
a little less stable.
you can control it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you can go back and affect this stuff. The other one is people have been doing this lately. They'll have their job, right? And then they'll have maybe 10 other items that they're saying are currently active. Like, I volunteer for the Red Cross. I'm going to put that in as a work experience, right? What LinkedIn looks at that is, from a database point of view, you've got 5 jobs currently. You're
Hmm.
not doing any of them full time. You're doing part-time jobs
Hmm.
currently, and you got 5 of them.
Hmm.
So your work stability is lower. That makes sense.
Ah,
So what
you
we
kind of
thought was a
spread
good presentation, yeah,
you spread yourself thin. And
it's making us look
just to make
riskier.
sure, yeah, I'm just making sure that we are all on the same page. When we are looking for that in the backup, is there literally a pivot table, like a column that says inferences about you?
No, it will be, well, it'll be a file, and it can either, you can either download it as, comma separated, or you can open it as Excel, or, I think there's numbers in Apple, those kind of things. So it will automatically open if you open up one of those other files and import it in. But it is called inferences about you. And
Inferences about
so
you in the backup.
that's a
Okay.
really kind of cool thing. The other thing is they'll decide whether, are you on the sales side? Are
Hmm.
you on the operations side? Are you on the
Hmm.
marketing side? And it
Hmm.
will give a percentage, right?
Hmm.
So they think that I'm 50% marketing,
Hmm.
which I thought is interesting, So they're looking at the activity that I have on LinkedIn is more marketing driven. And so it kind of gives you some perspective of what you're doing and what the perception is, right?
And they
So if
probably
you really
also
wanted to
want to
be all
know,
sales, you'd
yeah,
want to
they want to know
adjust
if they can
that.
sell to you, right? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to then adjust your tack in some way that you're bringing more sales into it, so that they see you as sales and they present you as sales and they rank you in sales.
Okay,
That makes sense?
got it. It
Yeah.
does make sense.
So
So there's a lot more to it. We're going to be covering this in something like 45 minutes, but obviously when you download it, you'll see there's a lot more to it. Could you give us, especially those on who are watching here on LinkedIn, you guys are awesome. Could you give us a quick thumbs up that things are working like they should? Because I'm getting a couple of messages that it's restarted. I don't know why LinkedIn has to be such a problem child. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it.
hasn't had enough
Oh.
coffee in the US yet.
But thank you. So this is reason number one, right? To take a
Yes.
backup and see there will be a in the backup, there'll be, I'm guessing, a gigantic, because I did it the other day, there's gigantic files upon files. And one of the files is called Inferences Upon You, about you. If you're just joining us because of all these like tech drama, I'm so sorry, but thankful that you're here. Go back and watch the replay. I'll also link my YouTube, which is a much more smooth viewing experience. Kevin, tell us what else, because this is already so in depth.
I think dive into your shares. So there is a file called shares, and basically everything that you've posted, whether ever since you've been on LinkedIn, they'll have every single thing in there.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, you could have posted something 2014 and it'll be there. You'll see the content of what your post was.
Wow.
And you'll have a link that you can click on and go all the way back to that post on 2014. So it's really kind of cool because you might have written something and you're like, oh, I remember that. And it was sometime at this time frame. You can go back, you can find it, and you can repurpose it, right? Update it, change it around a little bit, make it more modern. Boom, you've got more content now.
Absolutely. And you can even repurpose things from 6 to 12 months ago, because we all assume everyone has seen it, which is not true. Maybe only 5 or 10% of our followers.
And I love going into that shares file and I do just a word search for something, right? So, if I knew it was a particular feature, maybe it launched and now they've got a new addition to it, I can point back to the original post. But that's kind of a cool file. And, it also, there's a file for images. So if you used images while presenting and video, you can actually go back and get them if you lost them. So maybe you had a computer issue, you didn't save it, whatever it is, you could actually go into LinkedIn and download a lot of these images and videos and stuff. They're there on the server, so you can go get them.
Okay.
Right? So you can kind of create that backup. And I know that's probably happened to just about everybody. They've lost 1 or 2 pictures that they really, really wanted, don't know what you did with them. They may be on LinkedIn.
But even document, image, and video posts will be saved, Kevin?
Yeah.
Really?
All of that content. It is all saved in this process, whether it's back to the original post and it's right there and you can download it, or it's going to be saved in 2 files. I think one's called video and one's called images, where you can actually go in there and pick those up as well. So I love that.
That's a very good reason, because I was thinking about a post I did 2 years ago. I was literally thinking about it last night and I tried finding it. It's gone. So I know it'll be there somewhere in the backup, but now that you're telling me, it's a good reminder. And there is no option. We've got to take a backup, because we are otherwise at the mercy of a, let's say, rather wonky platform, even though LinkedIn has been around.
Well, we're renters, right?
We're renters
on LinkedIn. We don't own anything on LinkedIn. Technically, if the landlord says you're out or I'm out, right? I'm selling, you don't own it.
No. And the other thing as well is that LinkedIn is older as a platform than Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all of the stuff. But unfortunately, the others learned video faster, right? They learned from a lot of mistakes. LinkedIn is relatively a new player when it comes to a lot of things. So even live streaming right now, for example, there's so many like tech issues. You never know what other issues could be. So it's so important to take a backup of your data. And Jeff says, because of recent LinkedIn changes, you will also need to use the connection CSV file.
Absolutely. We'll definitely talk about that.
We'll talk
and
about
that was actually our next one. That was number 3, was connection.
Oh, that's a good segue. Yeah. And before we go in, I want to say hi to Adam. He's like, if I'm going to wake up after Thanksgiving for anyone, it's going to be for Kevin.
There he is. Adam's up. All right.
All right. Give us another, one of your solid reasons why
in connections. And there's somebody who does this extremely well, and that is Phone Bill McCain. He actually will take his connections file, right? And then he'll take messages, he'll take the comments file, he'll take the endorsement file, and he creates a pivot table that basically tells him who are his most active connections. And
Ah,
he uses that in a couple different ways. So I've got my most active. I know I'm doing good things with them. I got my kind of group down here that's kind of active. Maybe I need to touch base with them, right? And then I got this group who has never done anything outside of connect with me. Maybe I can make a little room, move them on, right? I don't need them. They're not doing anything for either one of us. So maybe it's
especially
time to move
especially
on.
those of us who are approaching or already at 30,000, because we have
Exactly.
to, every now and then we do need to do a bit of spring cleaning. I know that sounds harsh, but every one of us has to do that once in a
Yeah.
while.
And sometimes you find really strange files in there where people maybe have connected with you as a person and now they're a company, right? And I don't want a company in my connections file. So I'll go in there and I'll immediately get rid of those. Or, they've changed completely and I don't recognize it and I've had no contact with it. But that's kind of a neat way to take those files and make a pivot table from them so you can learn more than just looking at the file itself. And so Bill McCain he's great at that stuff. And if anybody ever wants, he'd be probably willing to show you what he's got. I know he's got some like recorded samples out there of how to do it. So you wouldn't have to even really use his time, but I wanted to bring that up.
Okay. Okay, that's really good. That's good. And I wanted to ask you something. I'm going to check who it is because this person is unfortunately not identifiable. If you've never posted anything, Kevin, that's a good
Mhm.
question. But you frequently comment, you engage with other
Yes.
people. Christine's asking. So that is still going to be
Comments is a file. So you can actually go
oh,
back and
because
see.
some comments are rich enough to be a
Yeah, you
freaking
got it. So
post.
you can do the same thing. You can go back in there, you can do a word search and go, boom, there it is. That's when I wrote that. And that was really good. And I want to make a post out of it. You got it now. So that's a separate file. That's comments, but you can
Ah,
work it just like you did with shares. And it's brilliant, and you
okay.
can also see where other people commented on your stuff as well. So
Okay. Okay. That's
really good
amazing.
kind of, again, everything you've ever done on LinkedIn is going to be in this download.
Now I
So it's
can
really kind
understand
of cool.
why you're doing this every single month. You're taking out time from your busy calendar because it is actually really worth it.
Now, I don't dip into all these files all the time. Sometimes I just download them and I'm too busy, right?
Sure,
But
but they're there. They're
yeah, I can
there.
sleep well.
You can sleep
If
well.
the site gets glitchy, I know I don't have to then figure out
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
many of the 22,000 first level connections can I remember
Got it.
to
Got it.
reconnect to. Nah, now I've got
Yeah.
a file
Yeah.
and it's up
No,
to
I
date.
can I get that.
Yeah,
Now you can sleep well unless it's the night after Thanksgiving.
true, true. Now,
So we are,
num-
I don't know, are we at halfway? I want to do a quick recap
yeah,
or we
we're right at number 4.
we're right at number. So we got like 7, 8. I'm just going to do a quick recap. So in case you're
Okay.
just joining us, or, with all these tech issues, I'm going to make sure I put in the YouTube link to our live stream where you can watch it, seamlessly, smoothly. The first reason we said that Kevin said is really important to take a backup is there is something called inferences about you. Go and watch the replay and why that matters. And more importantly, you have some control over it on how LinkedIn perceives you.
Mhm.
The second reason why take a backup is you dive into all the content, whether it's a share, whether it's a comment, which you have done ever, ever, as long as you've been alive on LinkedIn. And that could be used for so many things like repurposing
Mhm.
old content. Imagine if you wrote something in 2014 and you're like, I don't even remember anything from back then.
Yeah.
But that's a really
Even
good point.
files, there's a file if you saved a file,
Hmm.
under my
Ah,
saves, and then maybe you got rid of it.
I
But
thought
4
Kevin
years later, you
sometimes
know what? You know what?
they.
There was a
Oh,
great thing that John Asperian wrote, and I know I saved it, but it's not saved anymore. You can go into your saved file, and it's going to be there. Everything you've
okay.
ever saved, boom, will be in saved. So
Okay,
it's
good.
really
Because
kind of cool.
I
Now,
get this idea that sometimes when I save an item, sometimes I don't find it. It's not disappearing on its own, right? Unless I
no, you just
unless
forget where it is. It's kind of
no, that's
awkward.
something called saved items.
Yes, it's kind of an awkward, kind of hidden
No,
area.
no, I
So
know I
most
find
people,
it.
yeah,
Sometimes I don't find it. I thought there was a glitch or something because I like someone's post and I want to save it so I can read it
oh,
later. I don't find it sometimes, but
that's
I'll talk
interesting.
about that with LinkedIn help. And the
Well,
third
would you?
reason you shared why take a backup was take your connections, download
Yes.
them. and then see
Absolutely.
who's been most active with you. If there is somebody out, if there are many people out there and they've never ever interacted with you and it's been 10 years, 15 years, whatever, and you're running out of space, then it's something you can do something about. You
Mhm.
can do something about that, right? And you were going to get into, Kevin, reason number 4.
Reason number 4 is if you've ever applied on LinkedIn, they have saved your screening questions. And I've been
Ah,
on LinkedIn since 2005. I have
yes,
applied to jobs on LinkedIn,
yes,
but what was me in 2005 was not me in 2010 or 2015. And
sure.
it's certainly not me today.
No way.
I don't want that information given to an employer. And they're like, what was he
Ah,
talking about? Right? That doesn't make any sense. Why would I hire somebody, who's a sales manager for a VP job? Right? So you want to go back and you want to go into, it's called job applicant saved screening questions. Pretty well
okay,
descriptive, right? Go back
okay.
in there and you can go and figure out, are they good? Or do I want to go in and delete them? So you can follow them right through their click and you can go delete them if they're not something you want to have move forward. Because every time you apply on LinkedIn, those old questions, those screening questions are forwarded to that company. And you figure sometimes you apply over here, maybe you're in marketing, sometimes you apply over here in sales. Those answers are very different. You don't want them to go out to everybody you apply to. So that's a real smart thing to go clean that up.
Okay, I'm a little freaked out, Kevin. I'm trying not to show it.
What kind of answers did you give?
No, I mean, first of all, just a quick clarification question. It's not jobs to LinkedIn, but jobs through LinkedIn, correct?
Yes.
That's what you said? Okay.
Yes. As long
And
as
the
if there
second,
was a screening question and you answered it,
screening questions. Yeah, yeah,
yep,
yeah. And then
it's
the
still
second
there.
thing I wanted to say is if you make a change, you can make a change locally in your computer. How does that impact what LinkedIn has on the cloud?
Because you're telling it to get rid of it as data. And so they'll
How
replace
do
it
you
with,
tell LinkedIn to get rid of it if you've downloaded it as a backup?
because in the backups are links to the content. And so you can get to it
Ah,
and then you can say
okay.
delete or save or
Okay.
just don't do anything at all, right? If you like it, leave it.
Ah, I
But
see.
you
I
can go in
see.
there and you can delete it. And so that's really a good thing to do. I went and did that because I found, and I hadn't really ever looked at that particular file, but it seemed so concise in the way it was written out. I said, I'm going to go take a peek. And then I saw stuff that was 10, 15 years old. And I thought, why would I want anybody, if I ever applied
No,
again through LinkedIn, why would I want them to have 10 or 15-year-old information?
I
So,
100%, 100%. I agree, Debbie. We need this advice twice, so definitely catch the replay as well. And Debbie was saying something interesting earlier, and she'd mentioned the connection data, particularly the date you connected with someone. That's also anyway available on mobile, right? It's a very wonky way to get there, but it's there.
yes.
Yeah,
Or you have it in your connections file for everybody.
for everybody, for
Yeah, because they
everybody.
did
Okay.
take it off desktop. When you look at the contact info, they've taken it out of there. When you connected with somebody, that was always kind of nice. If you're about to call somebody or say something or text them or something, you could always say, "Oh yeah, and we connected on." Right now, you can go into this file or you can use mobile to get it. So they just took
100%.
it off
I think
desktop.
all the reasons you've mentioned, Kevin, are so powerful. But if anything, if anyone has ever, because Kevin, you've been hired, I've been hired through
Mhm,
jobs on LinkedIn, like we are LinkedIn, right?
mhm.
If this isn't shaking you up already, nothing else will. This is a very, very good reason to take a backup of the data because I can't believe how much power and visibility LinkedIn has in our professional sphere,
Yeah,
like in our professional life.
and they're using this information to take care of us, right? They got their AI running.
Take
And
care.
if the information's bad and we let it be bad, we're
Yes.
going to get bad results,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Can't get better if we don't fix it. So this is
Yes.
a lot about is going back and kind of making sure these things work, right?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if you want to go on to
Absolutely.
number 5.
Number 5, exactly. Before we continue, hi Ankit. I'm so sorry to read your comment. Join me next week at the same time because I'm going to be doing a live stream on all things job interviews and let's help you to get better. Because I saw that comment a few times. Wanted to make sure he doesn't, feel alone because we've all been there. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now, so far, all these are solid reasons. Kevin, I'm a little nervous now. Like, what else you got for us?
The next one is pretty simple. I mean, you could technically do this from your profile, but it's so much easier when it's already a downloadable file, and that is evaluate your skills, right? We've got 50 skills that we've chosen. We've assigned them to different jobs. We can go into the skills file and see what they are and see how they're assigned, and then evaluate them. Should I be using SaaS or cloud now? And so you want to look at those and say, am I using the most up to date? And should I eliminate the old and bring in the new? And as I've evolved, because most people set their skills up when they were available 10 years ago, right?
100%.
First available, never
100%.
touched them again.
100%.
You probably have new skills, or the position that you'd like to be in next has a whole new set of skills that aren't even listed. And so you're not being considered. This is just one place to get them all in one nice, neat order. And you can go through and determine which ones do I want to keep, which ones do I want to replace.
Okay.
And then find the ones to replace them with.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And
It's just
this
a nice
one
way
is
to do it.
something, Kevin, if I'm correct, this one is something that one could do without taking a backup?
Yes. I mean, you could look at your profile, but it's really hard to copy your skills area and put it into, a printable sheet or something that you could work
That
with.
I get. That I get. But what I mean is we can delete, we can bring up or lower down the importance.
You have to do that on the profile. This is just a way to look at the whole thing as one kind of content list. It's much easier than doing it on the profile and making your decisions to do it in a file like this. I just think it's easier for me to understand what's there. Right.
Absolutely. I think when you want a repository of information, like this inventory of information, then it's like you saying, you can't get it anywhere neatly except in a backup.
Yeah. So, and everybody should go back and look at those skills and make sure they're current and move you forward to your goal. Right. And if they don't, even if it's got, 400 endorsements, if it's for something that you never want to do again, I always say payroll and tax accounting for me, I'll never, ever do again. It's never in my presentation. If that was in my skills list, I would panic and say, get that out of there. No matter how many times it was endorsed, right? I don't want it. Don't want it to move forward with me. So those are the kind of things you want to look at. And sometimes when it's in one big group, you see things that you don't see when you're kind of getting another five off the profile.
I get that.
Right?
That makes total sense. And I also want to say, in case this wasn't heard earlier because of all these tech issues, if anyone watching and you work on LinkedIn a lot, you're a specialist in LinkedIn, Kevin's very generously sharing all of this wisdom with us today, but feel free to hire him if you want to go even deeper, like 2-3 levels deeper, because there's insider information that very few people know, and Kevin is one of them. All right, fab. Hi, Aaron. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yay.
Do we need to fill in all 50 skills, Kevin? I get this a lot.
Why not?
Really?
Right? Because recruiters who are using talent solutions often do two things. They do job title search and they do skill search. And sometimes they do both, right? So they might look for, a VP of operations and the skills are M&A, right? Or whatever it is. If you have them and you're endorsed for them, right? The more you're endorsed, believe it or not, the higher you end up on the list when that is presented to that recruiter. So if you've got one endorsement and the person you're competing with has 50 endorsements or 100 endorsements for that, they're going to be higher on the results list for that recruiter. So you definitely want to use all 50 because you can think about it, there's at least 50 skills. Most people have a hard time cutting back to 50 because there's always something, right?
There's always something.
Communication skills. Now we're having soft skills incorporated into this. When it first launched, it was only hard skills, right? One thing I do recommend when you're entering your skill, make sure you select from the drop-down box as you're entering that skill, because there's so many different ways to write these things. Write the one that's inside the filter for all the recruiters to know.
The
right?
pre-written,
that way
the
you're using the
pre-written
same
ones,
language.
the pre-written ones. So
Yes.
I think this is so important that you said, because lately I've been seeing clever trumping clear. Always be clear and clever later, because it's like, oh, I am the king of, they'll like a brand new skill. It's different if you're self-employed. You don't want to show up in recruiter results. But if you want to be found for certain job opportunities, just, fill in
I think Jeff Young has faster than a speeding train. One of his skills. And it's cool because He's not looking for an employer to hire him. He's done with that, right? He's
Yeah,
giving back. So for him, it's fun. But if you're looking to be found, to find that next opportunity, then use real skills that are inside the database, because that's
exactly.
definitely going to help
Exactly.
you.
Yep, absolutely. Debbie's like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Adam's like, this is jam packed. So I also found out who is this mystery person in the phone. This is Jude. Hi, Jude. Thank you for
Yeah.
tuning in. And she has found the post of yours, which has all this sort of, instructions on how to go about it. Thank you so much. This is amazing. So for those who are watching on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you check out this replay on LinkedIn to find, if you are really interested, there's always a way. Jude has actually made your life
Oh,
a
nice.
little bit
Thank you, Jude.
easier. Thank you, Jude. And who was this? This other comment I got that really made me giggle a little bit. Utsav's like 50 skills, really? They're like over promising. It doesn't like it's not. That's not how it's viewed. No,
No,
Kevin. No,
no,
no. Okay.
because all they see is the skills they look for.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you only put 25 in there and they're looking for the other 25, guess what just happened?
Yeah.
They never
Yeah.
saw you.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we have an ex-recruiter and resume writer here who says, please use pre-written skills. Lisa says, hey, Lisa,
Mhm.
be creative within the confines, not creative for creative sake, like clever for the sake of it. And another quick question was from Debbie. So if I delete an old job application screening question in my backup file, that will also delete it on LinkedIn's end. Because I asked that, right? Just to make
Yes.
sure.
And
Yes.
the next time you download your data, it's not going to be
Yes.
in there because you deleted it.
Because you deleted it, and the backup down whatever you download and the one that's on the cloud, they're somehow talking to each other. I don't know how.
Oh,
I'm not
yes.
an engineer. I'm not going to
Yes.
think about it.
It's all interconnected. If you delete it, it's going to be deleted everywhere.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. All right, fantastic. And another quick question is from Jackie. What if I'm at entry level marketing? Is there a filter for entry level as well?
As far as a skill, I mean, I'm not sure.
You
I mean,
find
there is
out,
just
Jackie. It's
marketing, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, Best way to find out is, again, go to the skills area and type in entry level marketing and see if it has a drop down box. That means a recruiter's requested it and LinkedIn added it as one of the filters. I don't know if it
Exactly.
is because I've never looked for it. That's the
Yeah.
best way to find out, because there's thousands of these. We couldn't answer them all today, but you can find out yourself by just typing it into the skills area and see what's in the drop down box.
Exactly. And let the other person be a judge whether it's entry level or,
Mhm,
mid
mhm.
career or whatever. All right, Kevin, what else you got for us? What are the other uses of our backup data?
This one's really cool because
Yes.
it
You
didn't
mean
exist for
this
all the
one
time.
is finally cool like the rest of
Yeah,
them
like
were?
the other ones were okay. This one's cool. If you're a networker, right? If you're a digital networker, if you're on LinkedIn to meet people, to build relationships, to find the next opportunity, there is a file called events. So if you've been
Aha.
to Sonal's live
Yes.
before, right? Or if
Yes.
you've been to, when we did the Fab Foreign Friends, we did our
Yes.
audio
Audio?
events,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
Well, a few months back, they added a new tab to all those events called networking.
Uh-huh.
And if you go back, you can find an event that you liked. You go back, you click on the link, you go to that event, you click on the networking tab, which has been added to it. Anybody in there that actually said they were going to attend the event, whether they went or not, if they
Uh-huh.
said they were going to attend the event, they're going to be listed there. And you can reach out to them directly, even if they're third, fourth, fifth level. You can reach
What?
out to them directly, and you can even connect with them, much like you could do in groups,
In
right? If you
groups.
joined a group, you can talk to anybody in the group. You can invite them. You can connect with them. That's what that networking tab now is. It is the new networking resource. But to find it, download the events file, and it'll show you everything you've ever gone and seen since the very beginning.
Unbelievable.
And they'll all have
Unbelievable.
networking tabs added to them. So
Okay.
really
Okay.
cool. And if they're at that third level and beyond,
Yes.
LinkedIn gives you a free in-mail to contact them.
So you don't have to
So
pay for Sales Navigator. You don't have to pay for LinkedIn
you
Premium.
just blow
Nothing.
it right by. So now you want to target what you listen to, right? Or what you
Correct.
participate in. Because, if you want to meet Branson, go to his live event, right? And you can send him a message. So really cool. way to kind of take those events of the past and really go back and re-network them. Find
Oh
those
my
people that
gosh.
you maybe spoke with or you were impressed with.
Oh my gosh.
So really
First of
kind of a
all,
cool
I
deal.
want to say quickly, if you think this is going to benefit anyone who really could use a lot of this information and data, like hardcore data, please make sure you tag them or you share this replay with them. Secondly, I don't know if people really understood, all of us really understood the huge ramification of what Kevin just said. There's something called LinkedIn events, whether it's audio, video, whatever. If you said you were going to attend, LinkedIn notes that under something called networking. It's going to be one of the files in your backup. You can reach out to people who have similar interests to you.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter if you're connected or not on LinkedIn, first degree, second degree, eighth degree, whatever. And it doesn't matter if you don't have their email address. Even GDPR is not relevant here. Compliance issues with, European citizens or none of that
Yeah.
stuff. This is mind blowing shizzle for me. So if you're watching this right now, and this is something that you this could benefit you, I wanted to like put something in the comments, put a brain, put that emoji with that brainstorm or whatever, and let us know how much you're enjoying this. Oh my gosh, this is a lot, Kevin. Like you keep giving. Somebody said this live is a Black Friday. Absolutely amazing, amazing. You're right. You did save some of the best for last, Kevin. What else you got for us? I don't know if we need anything, but
Uh,
what else you got?
one of the things I like is the companies file.
Hmm,
Basically, any company that you have followed is in the company file,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
The cool thing about that, if you are in the job search, or even if you're not, but you wouldn't mind being found by a recruiter, if that recruiter works for that company and they do a search, you're going to become to the top of the list because you follow the company.
hmm,
The
hmm,
thought behind it is, well,
hmm.
if you're really interested in us, you'd follow us, and those who follow us must be more interested. So we're going to put them at the top of the list. So it's really kind of cool to go back and see what companies have I followed, so you know the gap of what you haven't followed yet, right? So you can add those in. And the other thing is, just a few months ago, they put the bell on company pages. Right now, if a company page put out a post, you would only get, if you were following, you'd only get the ones that were really top notch, right? The ones that LinkedIn decided you should see.
Yes,
If you go back to that company page, you can now ring the bell and
yes,
get anything they post.
yes,
So
yes.
sometimes the worst posts are the best ones to comment on because you get the most attention, right? So kind of a cool way to kind of look at that, go back, make sure you've rung all the bells on the companies you are following, add those companies that you're not following into that gap, and it's going to bring your attention level up to those companies as they're out there searching.
Amazing. Like literally bells and whistles. Bells and whistles with everything you share. If you want to be noticed by companies, we've known that, right? Follow them to rank higher in their search results, but also the bell, and also take a repository of who you're following. Maybe take out the ones you don't want to follow anymore. Maybe Twitter, I don't know. Or maybe you want to follow new ones. This is a good place to start. And
Absolutely.
absolutely, Ashish is saying create a list of companies and stuff. And yes, but in the backup file, right? Not like generic advice that a lot of people already know. So amazing, amazing. So Kevin, we are already at number 7, and we are 44 minutes in. And I'm guessing is this
This is number
like the
8, I
last,
think.
the last one?
There's 3 more, right? But let's move really quick.
Good.
Job seeker
Okay.
preferences is a great file to look at. Just look in there and make sure the preferences that you have in there are still current, right?
Mhm.
If they're not, go adjust them.
For
So you'll be
example,
able. What's that?
for example.
It could be certain companies you're interested in, certain titles you're interested in. Some of this is collective of what LinkedIn thinks. Some of it you've actually said in previous times, maybe when you set up job alerts.
Even
So
historical data, it's
yeah,
got
so you
everything.
want to go
Okay.
in there and basically look at it. If it's all right, no issues. If it's not, correct it, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that one's pretty simple. We
Okay.
talked about the ninth one, luckily, and
Yes.
that's kind of rediscovering your saved items.
Yes.
right? Even ones
Yes.
that you unsaved because you thought you knew it all, and then you were going, what was that? I got to go back. Now you can go back. They're all there, whether you unsaved them or not. So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
And the final one is, as we're all reskilling and rebuilding and all this stuff, you can download the learning file or open the learning file and see what you have from LinkedIn Learning, what certificates. Did I post them to my profile? Should I unpost them from my profile because they're no longer needed, right? And it's just kind of a good way to kind of do your own audit on learning. So you can decide, where do you need to go next? What do you need to display? What can you pull back? If you've been doing it long enough, I think I've got like 50 things on my profile. Well, I want certain ones a little closer to the top, certain ones I don't even care if anybody knows I have. So it's a nice file again to go back in there and do that audit and then decide, what am I missing that I need to be now doing courses on?
Okay. I thought,
So
gosh, that's amazing.
that is
Yeah.
all
Yes, that
I
is a
have.
lot. And I'm sure there's others that, we haven't got into that you've probably have, like, because this shows that you really thought about it, Kevin. It's
Well,
not.
and there's so much more. This was kind of top of the head, right? I think Sarah Johnson said, "Well, why should I download them? What am I going to do with them?"
You were like, hold my beer.
Yeah, this was like a couple of minute, you know,
And
response
that
back.
comment of yours caught my eye, and here we are today.
Yeah.
So this is amazing. And obviously, if you want to learn more about all of this, you're working in a company or you're a LinkedIn specialist, feel free to hire Kevin, because this is literally like a taste test. There's so much more where this came from, right? And this is already, according to me and according to a lot of us, this is a lot. So Kevin, I'm going to do a quick recap of everything we talked about in terms of the LinkedIn data. Why should you save it? How should you save it? In case you were joining late, in case there were any tech issues, worry not. Watch the replay first of all to make sure you cover, you've covered everything that Kevin shared. But reason number one that Kevin you said was the inferences about you section, how that impacts you, how LinkedIn perceives you. It's almost like there's a big brother watching, so you can manage that perception, and why that's important. We talked about that as well. Don't take any of this lightly, because I think, Kevin, you've really chosen the juicy ones here. It wasn't like for the sake of it, but these are all important. The second good reason is any content or comment that you have shared ever, as long as you've been alive on LinkedIn, is stored in the backup data. And you can take it, repurpose it, make most of it, maybe update it to 2022 and beyond.
Mhm.
The third reason you said was see the connections file and see who's been most active with you. Do something about that level, take it a step further. And also the complete opposite analogy of that would be people you've never interacted with and you're approaching the 30,000 limit. This might be time for some, spring,
Adjustments.
autumn, winter cleaning. Exactly. Adjust accordingly. Also check out any job applications you've ever applied to through LinkedIn, and all those screening forms that they ask you to fill, that data is also there. I never thought about that because this is like 2013, 2014 stuff when I used to do
Mhm.
all that, but it's sitting there somewhere. Take advantage of that and see if you need to update it. If you've lost your old cover letters or whatever, this would be a great place to get something from them. Reason number five is a very good one, which is evaluate your skills. Some people said, really, do we need all 50? Take advantage, just put them there. But
Mhm.
also, it's a repository. Maybe some skills are less relevant and you want to update them to the present. The third one blew our minds also. This was related to networking and events. Any event that you have registered to attend, whether you registered or not, others you can contact, even if they are not first degree connections. You have a free in mail from LinkedIn. So take advantage of that. Reason number seven was the company file. Follow companies that are of interest to you, but you can see this repository in the backup. I'm already tired. And you're the one who's been like bright at 7 in the morning. Job seeker preferences is also very interesting because your preferences evolve because you're a human being. So make sure you evolve with that in the present scenario. You may not want to show in, or you may not want any of that. The good thing is any of these changes you make, they are connected to the LinkedIn cloud. We checked that, Kevin, and you said that's correct. There's a lot of gold in saved items. It's not a very easy place to find, but when you find it, check it out in your me. When you go to your face and you go there, you've got posts saved, you've got I don't know, all kinds of articles, documents, everything is saved in there. Even if you deleted it later, it's still there in your
It'll
saved
still be on
files.
the list. Yep.
And that's a good hygiene as well. And lastly, you can download anything you've ever done with LinkedIn Learning, ever. Whether it's a certificate or something you want to publish on your file and it's no longer relevant, you want to update it, all of that is in the download of your backup. Amazing, amazing. So, very informative. Thank you so much. Everyone's like blown away. So if you guys don't follow, highly recommend you follow LinkedIn, follow Mr. LinkedIn. Somebody called you the king of LinkedIn, Mr. Kevin D. Turner, K for Kevin, K for King. So definitely follow him on all things LinkedIn because really there's no better person for in-depth. And last thing, someone who's listening and you're like, oh, this is a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do that. What is the last thing you wanna like leave for anyone who's walking away from today?
If we don't control our own message or our own data, somebody else controls it for us, and we get what they decide we should have.
Yes.
So if you put in the work, there is value for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm taking away, Kevin, is all of this is so important, but it's a bit overwhelming for the
Mhm.
average person who's watching today. And you don't have to do everything, right?
No.
And you don't have to be like Kevin, who downloads on the 6th of the month every month. Even if you do it once a year, it's a pretty good practice, right?
Mhm.
Once a quarter, once a year. I think I've done
I'd say
it.
at least quarterly.
Okay. I've done it once a year, I think for 3 years now. But you're right. Based on everything you just said, it's not enough. Quarterly is a good idea. Um, and you don't have to do everything. You can be selective. Maybe I'm interested in the shares and the comments and the content and all of that stuff. Take advantage of that. Maybe you're more interested in reaching out to certain people who have similar interests to yours, like LinkedIn live events, LinkedIn audio events. Then do that. You don't have to do everything because that would be intense for a lot of us who have other work. Amazing, Kevin. Thank you so much for your time and for your generosity
Thank you. I
and for waking
appreciate
up
it.
so early on the morning after Thanksgiving.
The coffee helps. We're finally getting daylight outside now.
Oh my God, finally. Thank you guys for joining us live. This was a lot of fun and a lot of learning, hopefully for you as well. Like I said, feel free to share this with your friends, with colleagues who could use this help. And see you at the same time next Friday. I'm going to be doing a LinkedIn live session on all things interviewing. I'm probably going to be outside.
Mhm.
And let's take advantage of that together. Take care, everybody. Have a good Friday, good weekend, and happy Thanksgiving weekend to everyone in the US.
Thank
Bye.
you.